Good morning, Vessantara.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Vessantara. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're coming gradually. Good morning.
Patrick, you'll need to make Yesho Money a co-host so he can record.
Thanks. I've just given him permission to record as a.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Vessantara and everybody from Damavadri in Bristol.
Good morning, Vessantara and everybody from Viducato down in Kent.
Good morning from Nagarachita in Eastbourne. Hello, everybody.
Hello. Good evening from Shadanaya in Melbourne.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we probably don't have anyone from the States right now, I would imagine, because it's 5 a.m. on the East Coast and even earlier on the West Coast. Okay. So our broadband here is a bit slow, so you're all a bit frozen or a little bit kind of moving here and there, but I'll adjust to that. So we're going to start with meditation as usual. So if you'd like to get yourself set up. And as usual, first thought with meditation is it's an opportunity to relax. To be with ourselves, to be with our experience right now. Taking awareness down to the earth. one of the traditional meditation instructions is body like a mountain. And a mountain is a continuation of the earth. It has all that stability, all that unshakable quality. And it reaches up to the sky. The body is a very alive mountain, an energetic mountain. So bringing awareness into the body, to the aliveness of the feelings and sensations. Now letting awareness gather in the heart. And in our heart center, for a minute or two, just aware of our own life situation, and of that longing in our heart to be free from suffering. To be fulfilled, free. And also aware of the situation of the world, the situation of the six realms. People we know, and all the other beings who, just like us, long to be free of suffering, have hearts that want to be deeply fulfilled. with the resources of the everyday mind, we're very limited in what we can do. So let's invoke resources of deep wisdom, deep compassion. Let's invoke the refuge into our heart. However the refuge appears, all the qualities of awakening are in our heart. Not as abstract words, but living energy, living feeling. Great loving awareness. And that great loving awareness is totally open to us in our life situation, to how the body is, to our whole life history, which has conditioned what's arising now. All our struggles, all our hopes and fears. This great loving awareness knows all that, feels all that, embraces all that. As if this great loving awareness takes all this suffering, all these difficulties, all these uncertainties, gathers them up, takes them into the heart, and embraces them with so much love that they transform. Whatever it is, the darkest ignorance, the deepest shame, reservoirs of grief, fires of rage, desperate craving and clinging. The refuge takes it all to heart, embraces it, transforms it. And all the energy that was caught up is released. Flows out into the body-mind. Free, liberated energy. However that expresses itself for us. Might be joy, relief, gratitude, love, playfulness, freedom. and released from everything that was weighing us down. We're free and free to turn outwards. So the refuge in our heart has all the resources to go into a situation of suffering to be with it, open to how it is. And to embrace it. To take in the suffering, and that suffering, when it really meets love and wisdom, transforms and the energy goes out. So the situation itself is transformed. Everyone in it is transformed. Now when we're ready, just sitting. And sharing the benefits of the practice. Okay, so Here we are on day 4, and Patrick at Adhisthana is now flying solo with the tech. Lizzie has gone off to do some work. So we are halfway through the retreat, and maybe it's worth taking stock a little bit. So we've trained in the preliminaries, at least in principle. We've started looking at a little bit of the ultimate bodhicitta, looking at things as dreamlike, to not get stuck on things, not get stuck on situations, not to take things too heavily, to be able to keep a certain freedom as we go into working with difficulties. And we've looked at the methods of relative bodhicitta, or the one method really, which can be applied just about everywhere, which is the giving and receiving, the Tonglen. And we also have looked at a bit about turning towards difficulties and meeting them. We so far we've talked about using some of the relative methods, and particularly we talked about rather than blaming out there, seeing that finally the decisive condition, and thankfully the one that we can do something about, so it's empowering, is our clinging to a sense of self, which is not how things really are. And then last night we looked at utilizing the practice in your whole life, and these 5 powers. So there was the power of commitment, resolve, our intention, what's called the motor, what drives the whole practice, setting that up. And then becoming familiar with mindfulness, keeping that intention in mind. And with that, then using the power of the white seed, so carrying into action that intention to live out of wisdom and compassion, to live as much as possible with bodhicitta in how we act, how we think, how we speak. And then the power of renunciation, to let go as best we can of all those ways in which energy drains away from that momentum of wisdom and compassion, catching all the ways in which we still find ways of maintaining that sense of self-clinging. And then dedication. And it's always interesting kind of leading a large retreat, because like here we're dealing with over 150 of us, all with our individual energy configurations, ways of looking at things, cultural background, karmic tendencies, and so on. And the whole of the Dharma is a remedy, and very often people need individual remedies, or at least there are some remedies that really help, and some which will be the complete opposite. So trying to work out how to present things to people who need really different remedies is an interesting project. So with, let's take the 5 forces. Yeah. For some people, they'll think, oh, okay, right, that's clear. That's what I have to do. I just keep doing this. I keep coming back to that intention, that resolve, that commitment of love and compassion and wisdom and so on. And I follow it through, and that's really helpful. Some people will hear the same teaching and their minds will feel incredibly squeezed. It will feel like, right, okay, so I've got to start the day, by setting up this intention, and then I've got to be mindful of it all the time, and I've got to spend all my time doing these really positive actions, and I'm not allowed to sort of even take a little bit of time out, just to kind of read a book for a little while about something that's not to do with that. And they'll sort of feel like there's no space in that. Yes, that will be how they'll hear it. Yeah. So I do my best to kind of present things in different ways, but because I can't talk to all of you individually, much as I'd really love to. We have to be really noticing our responses to things, and I learn a lot, when somebody presents a piece of Dharma in a way that it doesn't work for me, because I think, oh, well, now why doesn't that work for me? And what would work, and how come? And so I learned from that. Yeah, so please, really take all this and be very sort of active about how you hear it, and notice the responses. And you can sort of pick out, discriminate responses where actually there's just some ego clinging there that's being invited out of its comfort zone, and it just sort of feels a kind of natural resistance. But actually it's quite good to be stretched. Yeah. From those things where the instruction actually isn't what your heart mind needs. Do you see the difference? There's one where it actually is, but it just, there's a bit of, well, I don't really like that. Whereas some things, no, that's the reverse of what we need, perhaps. So yeah, being really sensitive to all this. Partly I say this, because people send me questions, and along with questions, they also kind of send me comments sometimes. So with a large retreat, I will get a mixture of, oh, I'm really enjoying the retreat, and oh yeah, I've already booked for March, to other ones where, oh, that meditation really didn't work for me, and it just closed me down completely. And so yeah, I find it really interesting, and it's really good if you want to give me feedback on how you're finding it. By all means do. I'm very happy to have it. Not only that, but inevitably, I'm in particular states at particular times as well. So I notice myself, having just come off a few weeks of retreat at home, I seem to be wanting to emphasize more of the third and fourth noble truths than the first two. Very often on a retreat like this, like I think I did it more on the Bodhicitta practice retreat last year, and the Dana Paramita one, really empathizing with suffering, really going into it. But partly because of how I've been practicing the last few weeks, and partly also seeing a lot of people getting really worn down with the suffering in the world at the moment, taking it in quite a heavy way. I find myself so far in the retreat sort of more emphasizing yeah, the real, okay, let's take away the suffering, and then there's the joy, then there's the freedom, then there's all that. Yeah. Because I feel like, you know, some people are in states where they're already very, very well aware of the suffering. Yeah. So in order to go to the suffering, we really need the resources. Yeah. If we turn towards suffering without resources, there's just more suffering, and we become part of the problem rather than part of the solution. So I'm saying this because, yeah, I'm aware of it leading the retreat, but it's also something that we need to be aware of. You know, what do we really need? What do we need to emphasize when we go into this teaching? You know, do we need to emphasize really focusing on, yes, you know, the really feeling and being aware of our own suffering, our own pain, our own difficulties, our own hopes and fears, and really being with those, you know, really being prepared to sit with those and feel those and empathize with those. And then, okay, move into transformation. Yeah. Do we do that? Or do we, okay, acknowledge that they're there and focus more on the remedy, the qualities, and really having a feeling of how it is to be free of suffering, how it is for others to be really free of suffering, to really strengthen that vision, you know, so that it's also uplifting for our mind. Because the two extremes are that one extreme is that we focus on the suffering and we get lost in it. Yeah. We lose touch with the third and fourth noble truths, and we're just sort of down in a very heavy place. Yeah. The other extreme is that we sort of bypass the suffering and we want to live in this light, bright world where we're not allowing the impact of the first two noble truths to really be felt deep in our heart. So we want a balance where, yes, we're really able to be open to the suffering, really open to feeling it, able to be with it, be with our own suffering, and be with the suffering of our friends and our family and the suffering of the world as much as possible. And the reason we can do that is because we have the resources to do that. Yeah? We're in touch with the Dharma. We're really in touch with the refuges. We're in touch with the third and fourth noble truths. We're in touch with that possibility of transformation and the feeling of it. And also we're in touch with something of a vision of ultimate bodhicitta, where we're putting things in a different context. Yeah. So we're not taking everything on its own level, on the everyday level, which is very often taking things as solid, and we lose the flow of experience. Yeah, we lose that sense of that everything transforms, that sense of flow. And so then it gets much harder to work with, because things solidify, yeah, and problems solidify, and suffering solidifies. In general, this mind training is quite an active way of practice. There's quite a lot of intervention with how mind is. And somebody sent me a question last night saying that they'd been finding the meditations difficult, and they'd come off a period of practicing in a very open way, just being very much with the heart mind as it was, and there'd been a lot of joy and freedom in that. And now it felt a bit, if I interpret the questioner correctly, like they were being asked to go back into a bit of a box, and it was a bit directive. So that may be partly how I'm leading things. And usually if I'm on a retreat with people all together in a room, I'll say at some point, well, if I'm leading this and it doesn't work for you, well, just tune me out. I haven't said it on this because I don't need to, because you've got a button in front of you. At any point in the meditation, I will just suddenly go silent and you're free to do what you want. But yes, it may be how I'm leading things, but it also just may be that if you've been practicing that very open, free way, then this is going to be more structured, it's going to be more active, and it probably will feel more directed. To start with, I think practicing with the Tonglen, it's not natural. We're working with the breathing, we're working with doing this, doing that. The more we do it, the more with the power of familiarization, it starts to become easier. Yeah, it becomes more relaxed, it becomes more natural. Yeah, we just eventually, we just hear about suffering, and there's that connecting to the heart. There's the response from that. And it just flows. It just flows. But that's like anything that we learn to do. It takes a while to get to that point. So particularly in the earlier stages, yeah, it can all feel like, oh, there's a lot to be doing here. So let's all be very sensitive to ourselves. What do we need? Yes, don't let your mind just get squeezed, because that won't help. Yeah, find a way that works for you, sort of through things. Okay, let's stop there and let's have 15 minutes break until 1:15. Okay, how are we doing? One or two empty sofas. Our internet's a bit slow this morning, so it's hard for me to tell whether I should start because I've got a lot of black boxes. Everybody's frozen. So before the break, I was talking about making the practice our own, really finding the way in which it acts as a way that takes us deeper into wisdom and compassion, and being aware of one extreme is being lost in the suffering, not practicing with enough resources. The other extreme can be bypassing or sort of whitewashing out the suffering by moving on to the transformation, and not addressing the whole of the real situation. Okay, so now I want to start back by going back to the ultimate bodhicitta level of things, and we're going to look at the other piece of advice that we'll explore on this retreat, which is number 3, examine the nature of unborn awareness. So far we've had think of things as dreamlike, and dreamlike in the sense not of just all unreal, but flowing, ungraspable. The dreams I had last night, where are they now? They have an effect, but there's nothing that I can hold on to there. There's nothing that I can grasp at or fix in any way. So that's that way in which my mind makes things and people solid and fixed. Yeah, that's something that my mind is adding on to experience. So, okay, I can work with this, and I can start to look around and think, yes, everything's dreamlike. Yeah, this room that I'm in is like a dream. All of you over there, out there on that screen, you're all like a dream. But it can quite easily be the case that I do that, and it's a bit like I'm watching a film. Yeah, so I'm watching a film, and everything that appears, I know, oh, well, that's just a film. And the one solid thing in the whole experience is me. Yeah. So we can practice everything being dreamlike in that way. Yeah. So everything I come into contact with, that's all like a dream, without realizing that what we think of as me is also dreamlike. So examine the nature of unborn awareness is pointing us right back at, let's look at the nature of our own experience. And in particular, it's asking us to look at the nature of awareness. So this is taking us into the territory that you find in the songs of Milarepa, say with the shepherd's search for mind. Remember there's a young shepherd boy he's very open to the Dharma, and Milarepa sets him to looking at, well, what's your mind really like? Not so much the passing experiences, but what's awareness like in itself? And that's a really fundamental question, because all that we experience is an experience of awareness. So what is this awareness like? And Milarepa, you remember, gives the shepherd boy various questions like, does it have a shape? Does it have a color? And so on. So exploring this will take us into, deep into the Dharma. It will also take us into a different relationship with everything that we experience. And it will also take us into an exploration of the me that we're clinging to, that's seen as the culprit in terms of the lojong. And yesterday I was talking a bit about this in terms of the stage and the actors, that image, where we tend to feel that there's an unchanging me who's sort of outside of the experience of the five skandhas. There's the one who has the body, the one who has the feelings, the one who has the thoughts, the one who decides to put energy into this or that, the owner of the awareness. But when we look and explore, we don't find that me. When we look and say, well, okay, so let's look at me, the one who feels like I'm the one who's doing this meditation. We just find more thoughts. We just find, we find awareness, but we don't find any owner. We don't find the me that's standing behind all that. We find that that sense of me, the proud owner of this body mind, me, the meditator, that's all those we discover another actor who's, as it were, sitting in the director's chair. And really seeing that, it's really strange. It's in a way, nothing has changed, because there never was a director in the director's chair. There never was a separate me, sort of separate from experience. So in a way, we make a lot about sort of insight into no self, but on one level, it's just, seeing that something that never was there isn't there. And you think, well, that wouldn't have so much effect, but actually it has a very deep effect. It takes us into a different relationship, or we discover the real relationship between ourselves and the world, so to speak. This experience is different. And when it comes down to it, when we think about me, it's a very shifting kind of me that we identify with. There are times where the body is me. So yeah, I've hurt my leg and I think, oh, I've hurt myself. I don't think, oh, I've hurt my leg. I very often, I think, oh, I've hurt myself. But on another day, yes, I might feel like I want to go for a run, but my leg's sore. There's a muscle in it that means I can't run. And now I sort of stop identifying with my leg. You know, my leg is just this bit down there that's sort of preventing me from doing what I want to do. So now it's sort of been put outside of my sense of self and I'm irritated with it. Thoughts which just pass through and we think, well, they're just passing thoughts. There are other thoughts which feel like they're us. So the boundary of this selfing shifts, and it's really good to keep watching how it shifts, the ways in which it shifts. But very often the final deepest sense of me, if we're identified with anything, we feel like I'm the awareness that's having this experience. I'm the awareness. It's like this, we identify with that subjective awareness, and we make all the experiences of awareness the object. But as we go deeply into this, looking at the nature of awareness, again, that starts to fall away. So we'll unpack this more as we go on over the next day or two and see how it really relates to the effect that this has in terms of practice in the world, practicing compassion in the world, going into suffering. But let's do some meditation. Let's practice a bit and go into this area. So letting everything rest. Feeling our contact with the ground. And again, if it helps, body like a mountain. Now letting the body be a field of kindly awareness. Also now being aware of our mood, any emotions, as well as any internal dialogue, any words, pictures. Aware of the whole of ourselves. Now, as we're sitting or lying here, being aware also of the world outside. Sound of my voice, birds, cars, whatever we can hear. If our eyes are closed, a felt sense of the space around us. And a felt sense not just of our immediate room or wherever we are, but out beyond that. So now let's play a little, let's explore. See if we can move from what Zen would call small mind to big mind. So if there's a sense of being identified with the body and the emotions, the thoughts, and there's everything else outside, everything we can hear, everything we see, everything we sense is all our experience. It's all an experience of awareness. So let's start off by feeling how it is to identify with all of that. To be everything we're aware of. The sound of a car or a bird isn't out there. Now it's just passing through this open space of awareness. Now let's see if we can go a stage further and let go of any idea of this open awareness that includes everything that's happening as being I or me or mine. Do we need that? How could anyone own all this experience? Where would that owner be? One more step. Let's just check if we have an idea of awareness as being like a big container that holds all these experiences. Let's see if we could let that go. Just aware experience, no limit. Let's see if we can let all the words go. we could also let go of any idea of meditating. If mind's really open, the merits are already dedicated. Our internet's quite slow, so it looks as if you're all just fixed in deep meditation, unmoving. But you probably aren't. Some of you hopefully might be. So that's it for this morning. And go well until, hope to see you in session 3.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Vessantara.
Thank you, Vessantara. See you later.
See ya. could take me out.